Hey everyone, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today I have to ask you a question, and I really honestly do want to hear from you on this. Would you install an actual brain chip into your head? And I do want to know what your answer is to this. Now, before we begin, I want to start with this. I am not talking about conspiracy theories here. I know the whole Bill Gates' vaccine is going to install a brain chip into your head. I am not talking about that. Not talking about that. Not talking about that. Not talking about that. That's not what I'm talking about at all. What I'm talking about is voluntarily implanting a brain chip into your head that basically, in the same way that like some people have inserted RFID chips into themselves. If you recall, there was a company in Wisconsin where employees can insert RFID chips into their hand, and that would basically clock them in and out of work, open doors, all this kind of stuff. I'm talking about that you willingly do this. Now, by virtue of that, we have to talk about Elon Musk's quote-unquote secret, though not really secret, project called Neuralink. Now, Musk just teased an update that will provide basically a new understanding of what this company is doing, and he stated that an event on August 28th of this year is going to explain exactly what they're doing. Now, if you didn't know, and here's basically what's going on. Neuralink is working on their current project, which is a brain-implanted chip that is capable of controlling a human's emotions by emitting waves that are basically beyond the natural frequency of what we do. Now, this is the next evolution of Neuralink's actual mission, which is to help people with severely severed spinal cords or entirely severed spinal cords to restore mobility and movement. Now, additionally, this tech would also help in alleviating stress and anxiety by altering and balancing the brain's hormone levels, which obviously would then essentially relieve things like emotional tension. Now, here's the nuts and bolts of how this is supposed to work. Neuralink makes use of what's called flexible threads in the brain that are supposedly safe and effective for installing basically a brain implant. Now, by virtue of this, the technology will cause less of the exposed or expected harm that befalls implanting something into your head. Now, this thread, if you will, I'm checking my notes here, will function basically by having a device perform as a sewing machine that will then sew threads into your brain chip so that it can be connected via a USB-C cable to transmit data for each person's intended use. So meaning, let's say I have a different kind of situation with my spinal cord than you do if we're, let's say, a paraplegic or quadriplegic. And so by virtue of that, Neuralink would be able to upload specific information to help me with my specific ailment with my spinal cord. This technology, therefore, is capable of connecting the human brain to a computer, assuming that they can actually get their prototype to work properly. Now, this data, then, by virtue of this, will have bandwidth that will be available for streaming and use for the human brain. This is also why Elon Musk also talked about being able to do things like stream music directly into your head. So, would you get one? Assuming they are able to prove that it's safe to insert into your brain. Now, obviously, there are some benefits for people with disabilities here. If my spinal cord was severed, for example, I would probably be the first one in line to go ahead and try to get a fix, a quote-unquote fix, for that situation. And Neuralink may actually restore my mobility and allow me to walk when I wasn't able, let's say, previously to do that. So I would be a huge fan of that. But there are some obvious concerns here for people that don't have things like serious spinal cord injuries, which I have to imagine is the vast majority of the planet. If they can stream music or have a chip issue commands that replaces signals from, let's say, the normal spinal cord or some other aspect of your brain, then could it be programmed to make a person do other things? Like, so if this brain chip moves from, let's say, a physically wired connection to wireless, then how do we assure it can't be hacked and somebody couldn't simply place commands into my head that I think were my own, but here we are. So with a person with a brain chip that could be reprogrammed in this manner, could they be programmed to assassinate a president or drive a car off a bridge or fly a plane into a building or something even just minor innocuous like believing they love the taste of olives when they really hate them? And full disclosure, I hate olives. That's where that's coming from. Now, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here. Really, I'm not, but having something in your head that possibly makes you open to some kind of suggestion or attack, I think really needs to address all scenarios and how they are going to safeguard that and ensure that let's say I am not being reprogrammed to kill all humans or something like that. Now, I'm not the only one that thinks this. This kind of thinking has been going back way before the talk of brain chips was even around. You may recall that former Vice President Dick Cheney has a pacemaker, and he has one of the few, if not the only pacemaker that does not have a Bluetooth connection because he was worried about state-sponsored operatives, obviously not from the United States, from some place like Russia or China or somewhere, actually hijacking his Bluetooth and essentially exploding his heart by connecting to his pacemaker. That's a huge issue. And one of the largest pacemakers in the world a couple of years ago had to recall and update every pacemaker when they found a massive pacemaker vulnerability. I believe it was at DEF CON Black Hat, which is going on right now. So I think this is a huge, huge thing that we need to talk about. But I want to hear from you personally. Would you put a brain chip in your head, assuming that obviously it wasn't going to cause you any physical harm, but then it could possibly make you do things, possibly make you do things, possibly make you do things, possibly make you do things. You get what I'm saying here. And so that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Stay safe and stay online. Stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.